to my channel. Thank you guys for tuning in for another video, and today we're actually going to be doing something a little different. I've got here some pesto pasta and some corn and of course a Pepsi with my metallic straw, and we are going to be doing a mukbang of sorts. I'm starving. I just helped my brother move, and crazy story, we're moving his mattress and I don't have like any of those ties or like straps to like hold things down, so we were just kind of like winging it, and we were driving down the road and the freaking box spring like flew out the back of the truck, and thank God it didn't hit anybody, it just went off to the side, but it was definitely like super freaking scary. So I was driving like 5 miles an hour all the way back. It was just way too stressful, and we were gone pretty much all day. Me and Houston went down there to help, and so I haven't eaten yet. And so the whole point of the story is that I'm starving. So let's dig in. Got some pesto pasta. I don't know how I like sound or like look eating on camera, so I'm gonna apologize since now that is probably gonna be disgusting. But I know a lot of people don't like to watch mukbangs because, you know, the sounds of eating like annoy them, which some people, it annoys me. But I think it really just depends on who it is and like what they're doing. Like Brandon, for instance, like poor thing, I'm just gonna throw him under the bus. I hate the way he chews, and he's not even like a disgusting chewer. He just, I don't know what it is about him chewing that just makes me like go off the deep end. But watch, somebody's gonna be like, you chew disgusting, and then I'm gonna be like, sorry, Brandon. I'll apologize to him. So, are you guys like into mukbangs? I used to think they were weird at first, but then when I started watching them, like, I got addicted so fast. Stephanie Sue was the first person that I watched like do a mukbang, which is crazy because she's fairly newer to like the mukbang community, and so I fell in love with her videos, and then from there, I found like all kinds of different people who do it, and there are some people that like really get on my nerves, and I'm not gonna like name who, but like for the most part, I find them so entertaining, and I don't know why. I think it's because I love food, and like watching people get like the food that I'm craving, I think that's like what it is. That's why I like to watch them. I'm sorry guys, I know traditionally like you're supposed to like see what I'm eating, but maybe I'll just lift the bowls when I take a bite. So today, while we eat, I figured I would start a new segment on my channel called Therapy Thursdays, where rant about a subject, and then basically I'm gonna get all my feelings out, and then I'm just gonna like get over it. Because if any of you know me at all, I don't get over stuff. Like I can tell you who, what, when, where, and why. And I don't know why, like I just don't get over stuff. Like, it's just this really stupid thing that I have that like, I just hold on to everything. And even though I tell myself like I'm over it, I'm not. So today, I'm gonna tell you a story. It's gonna be like a story time / therapy session about 2 of my best friends who betrayed me. And this all happened within the course of like 2 months. And to make the situation better, we were all in the same friend group. So it's not like, oh, one friend from this group and like another friend from this group. Like it was 2 of my friends from the same friend group. And this is something that has like stuck with me for years. I think it attributes to kind of like the way that I am. It really affected me. Let's start off with, I'm gonna make up names, and I'm not gonna give too specific of details of like when or, yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do because like I don't know. As much as I'm not over it, I still don't want to like throw anybody under the bus because that's just the kind of person that I am. So let's get started because it's a juicy story. So back in high school, I had a huge crush on this guy named Ben. Again, remember, Ben's not his real name. That's just his fake name in the story. I had a huge crush on this guy named Ben. And I actually had liked Ben for several years. Like, we had went to school together since middle school. Okay, so he like wasn't the most attractive person, but he was really smart and he was really funny. And I don't know, we got along really well. We were really good friends. And so naturally, I started developing feelings for Ben. And we just kind of like flirted all the time. Like that was just kind of his personality. Like he was really flirty and like everybody loved him. Like he had a really big friend group and he was just a really awesome guy. And so we would flirt all the time or whatever. And I think in middle school, he knew that I liked him kind of like the first year that we had met. But I didn't really say anything because one, I wasn't like allowed to have a boyfriend or anything. But I was also like, had this huge fear of rejection. So I was like not gonna jeopardize anything. I think, I can't remember like when exactly it was, but like a year later, let's just say from the year that we met, a year later, we ended up hanging out and we made out, okay? And it was like not just like a kiss, like it was like a full-on makeout. So to me, I don't want to go like and make it dramatic and say like, oh, it was so passionate or whatever, but it was definitely more than like a peck on the cheek or even like a peck on the lips. It was like a kiss. It was my first makeout. And so I thought in my head that like, okay, that meant like Ben liked me. I still didn't really say anything or like bring it up because I actually pretty much all of middle school, even mostly into high school, like I didn't have a cell phone. And if I did, it was one that like I could only use to like call my mom or dad. Like I couldn't text people. There wasn't really any way for me to like ask Ben like after like, hey, like what is this, you know? So we kind of just like moved on. Not moved on, but we just moved forward from that night and like everything just was back to normal. And then I moved. A lot of people don't know this about me, but I've been to like, I think a total of 9 or 10 different schools throughout my whole like school career. I think in elementary school, I went to like 4 or 5 different elementary schools. I went to 3 or 4 different middle schools and I went to 2 high schools. So we moved around a lot and it kind of sucked because every time I would get comfortable with like a friend group, I went to an elementary school and then I ended up going to a middle school where a lot of the people I went to elementary school with went to, if that makes any sense. And so I would get to be back with my friends and then get taken away from my friends. So it was really difficult and it was hard to transition, but I mean, whatever, it was something that we needed to do. My 8th grade year, I moved. That was really hard for me because I felt like, okay, like things were just starting to get like a little bit decent and I moved to like a small town that I ended up hating. But my 8th grade year, in the middle of the year, I moved. I'm like, don't have any way to like talk to my friends or like text them or anything because I wasn't allowed to have a phone, and honestly like I probably didn't deserve one because I was like super bad. But Ben didn't like slip from my mind, but we moved pretty far, so there was like wasn't even a way that I'd like run into him. So not only could I not text him, but I wasn't even running into him. So then my freshman year, we moved back. I end up getting to go to school with all the people that I went to elementary school with and middle school with, and I know a ton of people at my new high school. And it's really exciting because I haven't seen them in a while, and some of my best friends go to this high school, so I'm super excited. Well, lo and behold, Ben also goes to this high school. And that wasn't really shocking to me because there was like 1 of 2 high schools that people went to, and we all lived within like the same area, so we were all gonna go to the same high school. But I end up having like a lot of classes with a ton of my old friends and Ben. So I reunite with some of my friends, and in my main group of friends are two girls that I've known for a really long time. One we're gonna call Jenny, and the other we're gonna call Sarah. Jenny, I've actually known, she's probably the one person in my whole life that I've known the longest. Like, I've known Jenny for so long. And it was really cool because when I went to middle school after I moved away in elementary school, I reconnected with Jenny and we became good friends again. And then again in high school was the same thing. I was super excited to like see all the people that I knew, and we had like a friend group that we had a lot of classes together and we would sit at lunch together. So Jenny was in there and so was Sarah. Now Sarah, I actually wasn't friends with when I knew her in middle school because I thought Sarah was, for lack of a better word, now that sounds really judgmental and I'm not that way anymore, but back then, you know, the reason I thought Sarah was because she dated Ben. Now, I didn't just think that she was because of that. Like, I had heard things from other people who had also went to the same school that she did that she was just known for that. And so I didn't have the best impression of her at first. And to be fair to her, when she dated Ben, her and I were not friends. That was part of the reason why I didn't like her. And so in high school, when I was reunited with Sarah and she was a completely different person than when I actually sat down and got to know her, she was completely different. So, and she was in our friend group and we all got along. So after freshman year started, everything was going really good. I had classes with Ben, but I didn't bring up anything that had happened before I had moved because I felt like that would just be weird. And like, I didn't want to come back after not seeing him for like 9 months and be like, hey, remember that time like we made out? Like, are we dating? Like, no, nobody does that. So I just start, you know, talking to Ben again, and he's very flirty and whatnot. Still, everything's kind of like the same. I actually dated another boy. We're gonna call him Kevin. And Kevin is part of the story, but not really until the end. And Kevin and I dated for a little bit, and then it just got to the point where, like I said, I wasn't allowed to have a boyfriend, so I couldn't talk to him like after school or anything. Like, we only just talked at school, and so I was just like, what's the point of this? So I was just like, what's the point? I kind of had to break up with Kevin. So we're just gonna put Kevin away for later. Months go by. Ben hasn't dated anybody. I'm like, fuck Ben. Like, when are you gonna ask me? You know? So we keep talking or whatever. This is where the story takes a turn. So we're gonna play together, and it was premiering on like a Friday night, and we do the play, and after the play, I come out and I'm waiting for my mom because she wasn't able to go. And so I'm waiting for her to pick me up, and who comes out but Ben? Ben and I are talking or whatever, and like we're just doing our same old, like exchanging like flirty banter, whatever. So then my mom calls me, she's like, hey, I'm outside. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm like, Ben, I gotta go. I go in to give Ben a hug because we're huggers. Like, I hugged all my friends. And what does Ben do? Ben kisses me. He kisses me. So I'm like, not just like a, like, bye, peck on the cheek, again, on the lips. It wasn't like a make out, but it was definitely like, there was no mistaking that he was purposefully kissing my mouth. Ben's lips were on my lips. So I'm like, my heart just explodes. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, is he trying to like tell me something? The freaking play premiered on a Friday, and so I had to go home and wait a whole weekend before I saw Ben again to really be like, okay, what the hell? I was excited all weekend because I was like, maybe he just doesn't know like how to ask me, how to say like, hey, I like you. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what his deal is, but I'm like determined to get to the bottom of it. So Monday comes, I like put on my flyest outfit. I like do my hair. I'm like, I'm gonna get all dolled up. I'm gonna see Ben, and I'm finally going to be like, what are we doing here, Ben? Like, what is it? In all my excitement, I think to myself, I'm like, okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wait for Ben to approach me. And if Ben doesn't approach me, I'm gonna approach him. So Monday comes and goes, and of course he like wasn't at school for some reason. All right, that gave me a day. I was really nervous, so it was kind of good in my head that maybe he didn't show up, like it was a sign, like it gave me time to prepare a little bit more. And then Tuesday came, and Ben didn't say anything about like our kiss. Ben was there on Tuesday, and he didn't say anything about our kiss. So I'm like, all right, well, he didn't say anything. Maybe he's just waiting. Doesn't say anything to me all day. So Wednesday comes, and I'm like, all right, this is it. Today is the day. I'm gonna approach Ben, and I'm going to figure out like what he's doing here, because at this point, like it just felt like a game. So I was like, we're gonna figure this out, and by the end of today, like I'll have an answer. Like either he likes me and he wants to like move forward, or he doesn't like me and we either just go back to being friends or not. So I couldn't really pull him aside in the middle of class because, I mean, you can't really do that and just be like, hey, like, can I talk to you? Like, can I just pull you to the side? Like, no, everybody's nosy. So and I wasn't gonna like write him a note and be like, hey, like, what are we? So I'm like, all right, I'll wait till lunch because we had the same lunch, and I'll pull him to the side. So Ben and I had a class together, and then my next class we did not have together. There's a class in between our last class and lunch. So I get to this class, and this is one of the classes that all of my like friend group is in. To be fair, and I'm just gonna say this right now, I didn't really tell my friend group what had been going on with me and Ben, because they had knew some of our past, but I didn't tell them about the kiss because one, over the weekend I didn't have my phone, and two, like I just didn't want to jinx anything. Like, I don't know, like part of me was just like, just keep it quiet until after you talk to Ben. Then you can talk to your girlfriends about it, because I just didn't want them to like, for some reason, like go talk to him or whatever, or them tell somebody and they get back to him, and then I just wanted him to hear what he had to hear from me, and then I would go forward. To be fair, I didn't tell them about the current kiss between me and Ben. We're going to lunch, and Jenny actually wasn't in our class that day. I don't know. I think she had something else that she was doing, like for student council or something to that nature, that she was allowed to not be in class, but she wasn't in class that day. So we go to lunch, and it's me and Sarah and a couple of our other friends, and we're going through the lunch line, and I'm like looking around, and I don't see Ben at first. And I was like, has anybody seen Ben? And they're like, no, like we haven't seen Ben, whatever. And at the time, like I didn't even realize that like Jenny hadn't been there. We sit down, we eat. I'm getting more and more anxious. Like I can hardly eat because my stomach is just like in a knot ball, because back then I used to have really bad anxiety. So something like this was just like throwing me over the edge. All of a sudden, I see Ben, and he's coming in, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is it, this is it. And then my heart stops, because Ben is walking into the lunchroom, and he's holding hands with Jenny. And my heart explodes into a million little pieces, and immediately, without even like hesitation, I start crying, because I'm like, what in the actual happened between Friday and Wednesday? So I'm like crying my eyes out, and all my friends are like, oh my God, like what's wrong with you? And so I kind of like dramatically run out of the cafeteria, because I don't ever do anything not dramatic. Sarah runs after me and is like, oh my God, are you okay? So I explained to Sarah like what's happening and everything that happened. And she's like, oh my gosh, like I don't think Jenny knew about Ben. Like she's like, she hasn't said anything to us like about even talking to Ben or like liking Ben or whatever. And so I'm like, what's happening? So upset. And so then, at some point, Ben gets wind of like whatever happened. Or, you know, my freak out. So I finally get myself together. And later on in the day, Ben comes and he's like, hey, can I talk to you? And I'm like, don't even know what to say to him, because to be fair, I'm not going to really blame Jenny for what happened. She knew, I mean, yes, she did know that I liked Ben, but if I'm gonna be fair, she didn't know that he had kissed me freaking 5 days earlier. I was upset, but I was mostly upset with Ben, because Ben and I, like I said, we had been friends for a really long time, and I considered him like one of my best friends. Like, he was so close to me, and for him to just turn around and do that, like, he broke my heart. He shattered it into 1,000 pieces. I was just like, what do you want, Ben? And he was like, are you okay? Like, and I was like, I don't know. Maybe the fact that you freaking kissed me 5 days ago and now you're all of a sudden with one of my best friends. And he was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't know you liked me. And I was like, you're really gonna sit there and tell me that you didn't know that I liked you? Like, are you being fucking real right now? And he was like, no, like, I had no idea. So I was like, if you didn't like me, like, why have you been kissing me? Like, all the time. And he's like, well, I do like you. I did like you. Like, I don't know, like, what came over me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, he's playing so stupid right now. And I was like, look, regardless of how you want to look at it, it was messed up what you did. Like, there was no part of you that thought that I'd be even like the tiniest bit upset. Like when you pulled back, so anyway, I don't even remember where I left off. My freaking camera like shut off. But he just tried to play dumb, and he didn't realize that I would be upset that he was now dating my best friend after he freaking kissed me. And the shitty part is that I felt like I was like nuts. I was like, did I like read too much into this? Like, is it me? And then I had to stop and think and be like, no, he was the one who kissed you. Like, you weren't the one who just like went in for a kiss and then he was like, oh, what the he kissed me. He was the one who like put all the first moves on me, like, and then just like pretended like they never happened. I don't know. So he had me all the way messed up. I was like, yeah, we're done. I was like, this is. And Jenny, again, I don't place like a lot of blame on Jenny. Jenny did know that I had feelings for him, but still, I feel like he was responsible. Jenny wasn't the one who kissed me, it was him. Well, her dating Ben, actually, like, I couldn't stand to be around them. And I tried, I really did, for the sake of like the rest of my friends, I tried to be around them. And it just didn't work for me. It just hurt way too much to see them together. I did start hanging out with another friend group about a couple weeks into Jenny and Ben dating. which is kind of the joke on Ben because Jenny turned out to be too. Just kidding, Jenny, if you're out there. I ain't mad at you for your but it's kind of what Ben gets. So anyway, a couple weeks after that, I'm still friends with the other girls that are in the friend group, and like whenever I see Jenny, I'm like, hey Jenny, like whatever. I'm not like trying to be her best friend, but I'm still like in pain over like what happened with freaking Ben. I'm not really in the mood for anybody's crap. One day, I come to school and I see Sarah making out with some dude. And I'm like, good for you, Sarah. You make out with him. But when the dude finally comes up for air, guess who it is? It's freaking Kevin. Sarah, my friend, the one who I forgave for being and who helped me with the whole Ben and Jenny situation, Ben and Jenny, is now sucking face with my ex-boyfriend, Kevin. And to be honest, if Jenny hadn't just stolen my man from me, I wouldn't have cared about Sarah and Kevin. But because I was still freaking upset about the whole Ben fiasco, I was like, Sarah, I was upset at Sarah too. And she was like, well, you broke up with him. And I was like, that's true. I will give that to you, Sarah. But you do know all the crap that I just went through with Jenny and Ben. And here you are making out with my ex-boyfriend. Like, what part of you thought that I would be okay with? Because the thing about Sarah either is that she never like came to me and was like, hey, like, Kevin's showing interest. Like, is it okay? Because then I would have been like, yeah, like, whatever. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I would have been dramatic about it, but I would have eventually gotten over it and not have to be blindsided by walking into school and seeing her second face with Kevin. Do people not think before they do stuff? Like, do they not realize like, hey, like, let me just like throw it out there? Because yeah, I might have been upset, but at least I didn't have to walk in blind to it. So basically, most of my friends sucked in high school. I had a handful of friends who didn't suck, but that's the story of how I was betrayed by Ben, I was betrayed by Jenny, and I was betrayed by Sarah. It was just BS. But anyway, guys, that is my Therapy Thursday. Thanks for letting me rant and get that story off of my chest. Believe it or not, it has been bothering me since, it's been almost 10 years since that happened, so that should just tell you that I don't let things go easy. But to be completely honest, like, it did hurt me, and it did take me a while to get over it. I'm actually, when thinking of an idea for this video, that situation like came into my head, and I did want to share it just because obviously, like, if it came to my head, like, subconsciously, like, it's something that I still think about, even though it's not like on the forefront of my mind and hasn't been for the last 10 years. Like, I do feel like obviously it still affects me. So I'm just gonna throw out there that I have forgiven Ben and Jenny and Sarah and Kevin and anybody else who was involved in that situation. I did forgive them. You should always try and forgive the people who've done you wrong, no matter how wrong they do you. I know that a lot of situations are gonna be way harder than others, and that this is mild compared to some of the things that you guys might be going through. But at the end of the day, you can't let anger and resentment and things like that, like, you can't hold on to that, because eventually it's gonna start affecting you. And like I said, I can't even count on my hand, like my one hand, the amount of times I've thought about this whole situation since it's happened. But I think a part of it, like I said, always just stayed with me subconsciously. And so there might be things that I've done in my life, or that I don't know how exactly to say it, but when I didn't let it go, it did affect me more than I would care to admit. And so now that I've ranted about it and I let this whole story out, if you know who Ben, Jenny, Sarah, or Kevin happen to be in the story, I mean, don't go out and send them any hate or anything like that. I think now that I look on their lives now, like, everybody's moved on and everybody's happy, and so it's probably just me just being dramatic and being like, this is what they did to me. I'm not looking for anybody's sympathy either. You know, there were things in that situation that I could have done better. I will take responsibility for my part, but I will just throw out there too, like, don't go around and like hook up with your friend's crush, your friend's ex, without, I mean, talking to your friend first. Like, it's a thing to do. Well guys, thank you for tuning in for another video. I'm so glad to have you guys back every week. It's the highlight of my day, my week, my month, my year. If you guys have any topics that you want me to talk about, go ahead and comment them below. If you're going through anything, DM me and I can bring it up in the next Therapy Thursday. But thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you in next week's video. Bye!